called National Sustainable Tourism Framework as a blueprint for the years ahead. The foundation for the FT 2021 was to grow Fiji tourism to an industry worth 2.2 billion by the end of 2021. Therefore, the NSTF will be a 10-year framework intends to build on the FT 2021 strategies while focusing on sustainability, resilience, and inclusiveness. Four private public dialogue sessions has been undertaken since August 2022 based on key thematic areas such as the private sector's role in sustainability and inclusiveness in the workplace. You'll find the recordings of this on a dedicated section of the MCTTT website. So, colleagues, we have 9 PPDs scheduled for 2023, and today's session will be on SMEs and regulatory compliance, financial challenges, and solutions. The objective of this is to share examples of SME solutions in the sector, examples of where regulatory and financial challenges are being addressed. We'll learn from successful participations between the public and the private sector in progressing SME solutions. Hear good practice from SME businesses and institutional leaders that have implemented these policies and practices to address current barriers and strengthen resilience and growth. Colleagues, these PPD sessions are based on different thematic topics and will fundamentally be our team to get your views on the framework, so we can look forward to your so we are very much looking forward to your feedbacks in this session. Without taking much of your time, we have online with Ms. Becky Last and Ms. Casey Luthi from IFC, our development partners. We also have engaged Talanwa Consultancy to support its facilitation. So we have with us Ms. Marita Manley here. And we also have a very dynamic panel today who will be sharing with us the current support from SMEs in the tourism sector, the challenges and solutions for SMEs in our sector, and understanding and educating on e-commerce solutions for SMEs in tourism. Joining us today in the panel, we have MSME Fiji Director, Mr. Yusufo Korinindiburi, Society of Travel Associate President, Ms. Beatrice Nast, Revenue and Customs Service CEO, Mr. Mark Dixon, Mastercard Director Pacific Islands, Mr. Craig Kecklin, and Seoul CEO, Ms. Maria Volavola. A very big Vinaka Vakalabu for the panel for taking out time to share with us your experience in this space. As we all know, SME plays a key role in the growth of tourism. This session and your contributions will greatly contribute to the growth and potential of our local SME tourism operators. It's important to acknowledge how these small operators contribute to a sustainable Fiji tourism industry. Colleagues, at the end of the session, I strongly encourage you to ask questions and share with us your thoughts on how you would like the new tourism strategy to focus in terms of challenges, solutions, and opportunities for SMEs. I'll introduce the first panelist, Mr. Yusufo Korinindiburi. He's the Chief Business Advisor for MSME Fiji within the Ministry of Trade, Cooperatives, and SMEs. Mr. Korinindiburi is from Nauri village in the Kandrove. This is his 4th year in the government, and he has 12 years private sector experience, mainly in the South Pacific, Solomon, Tonga, and PNG, in the areas of business development, project management, and sales and marketing. He'll be sharing the work of MSME Fiji and the current work to support MSMEs in the tourism sector. Mr. Korinindiburi.
Right. Binaka Jotisna. Nakambula Binaka, everyone. Yes, my name is Yusufo Korinindiburi, here at the Ministry of Trade, Cooperatives, and SMEs. I will just briefly Jotisna, you can tell me if my time is up, because most of the time I'll just keep on talking. Sorry, I don't have any presentation, but I will just discuss based on the questions given. I will just briefly look at MSMEs and the definitions of MSMEs that we are currently working with the government, and also look at some of the works that the ministry is currently doing in the space of MSMEs in relations to the tourism sector, especially the ecotourism sectors. Rightfully, the MSMEs, this is something, this is a new department that is within our ministry. The whole idea, the government is looking at to consolidate all the small, micro, small, medium enterprises functions within the government and bring it to centralized positions like that in one ministry. Right now, different ministries have their different programs and in relations to MSMEs. The importance of MSMEs, I think they are the engine of economic growth. In Fiji, right now, they contribute to almost about 60% of all the businesses in Fiji. So you can see that there's a huge space in terms of the MSME sector. And in terms of GDP, they contribute to almost about 18% and of the total GDP. That, I think, if we revise it now after COVID, there's a lot of small businesses that mushroom after COVID. And I'm pretty sure if we revise the contribution as per the GDP, it'll be going up to about another 2%, so roughly about 20%. First of all, I will look at the definitions and then look at the works that the ministry is currently doing with regards to the ecotourism space. We have the micro, small, medium enterprises. Micro, in terms of definition, we look at the annual turnover. That is, if you are in the micro, your business is in the micro level, your annual turnover is something looking at from 0 to 50K. And then for small, we are looking at if your business, your annual turnover is sitting at 51K, right up to 350,000. And medium enterprises is from, if your business is sitting at 351K, right up to 1.275 million. So it is important to have these definitions because when we look at the MSME space, different entities, they have their different definitions of MSMEs. Some they base it on annual turnover, others they normally base it on the HR aspect, the number of people that they are employed. So the commercial banks have a different definitions. Government have the different, RBF have the different definitions. So what we're trying to do is actually define what is micro, small, medium enterprises, and then work our grants accordingly to this. Linking that into the tourism sector, with our the ministry, we have grants that is available for our MSME sector. One of those grants is called the IHRDP. It is Integrated Human Resources Development Program. Now, this grant, it's a 1/3, 2/3 contribution, and any business, small business, if you are within that definition, I'm not so sure if we're asked to move out of the building, but anyway, if you are within that the definition that I've mentioned already, then you can apply for this grant, HRDP grant. There is the total grant that you can apply for is about 100,000. So it's a 1/3, 2/3 contribution. So you, the recipients or the business owner, you can, your contribution will be 1/3, and the government will give out the grant of another 2/3. So there's a total of 100,000. Now, with regards to our department, what happens is after COVID, when all of the industries, especially in the tourism space, they've closed down, what we look at, there's a potential to push into the ecotourism space. And this is something that our ministry is trying to get these MSMEs, linking together with a grant and look at developing the ecotourism space. To give an example, last year we've assisted about 4 small business in the ecotourism space. I think one of them is Namosi Eco Retreat. That's in the highlands of Namosi. I think some of you will be aware of that. This is after COVID. When they come to us, we assisted them in that. There's also Natalera in Tailevu. We've got also Silana in Tailevu, and also in the, I think towards the end of the last year, we assisted the Mboma Tavoro cooperatives in those landowners in Mboma, that is in Taveuni. So this is an area which the ministry is looking at, trying to look at the ecotourism space, to develop the ecotourism space riding on from the main tourism line. I think in Fiji, I think the tourism space is almost about 60% of GDP, but mostly looking at the high-end tourism and also the medium end. So where we are strategizing, looking at is after COVID, it has made us realize that we will need to develop the ecotourism space, because this is something that will assist the resource owners out there, and also in terms of leakages, in terms of revenue, it's almost about 100% retained back into the local economy. So this is where we are funding the ecotourism space, not only in the ecotourism, we're looking at agritourism, we're looking at sports tourism. I think some of you might be aware there's a linking with our cooperative business model as well. You have, I think, the Eastern Saints Cooperative, that is Sermayambai. This is something that we've also been working with them. Now, I think where we are looking at, the government is looking at, is to assist most of the resource owners who want to go into the ecotourism space. We have the fund over here that we can work with you. The importance of the ecotourism, I'm always looking at the tourism, how we can combine it with agritourism. This is something also that we are looking at. I think Namosi Eco Retreat is doing this very well. So I think the beauty about this, when we push, if we look at how we can combine ecotourism, agritourism, the sense that I think Jyotisna has mentioned over there is looking at the sustainability in terms of business and also in terms of farming. And I think the beauty about this, there's a huge market that we are not tapping into, that we can bring in the tourists to come and experience our culture, our tradition, our way of life. This is something that we need, that we can tap into. So currently we are looking at Namosi. If anybody out there who is from Namosi in the Netasiri side, we are also trying to look at if we can group them into clusters in a particular area based on their competitive advantage. Meaning, say for example in Namosi, if Namosi Eco Retreat has been driving the traffic up there, if we can have a couple of those, whether it's in Naitasiri, I think Waiwaka, we are also interested to go and look at Waiwaka village. So if we have a couple of those up there, then this is where we can link them up to have a cluster of ecotourism, agritourism out there into the Namosi, opening the highlands. I think most of almost about 80% or 90% of our tourism, they go into the resort out there in the Sawos, especially for the sun and the sea and the white sandy beaches. But there is a niche market out there into the highlands that we can tap into, partnership with the resource owners and the government, and where they can open up in terms of developing those ecotourism space, especially in the highlands, especially in Etasiri. We also look at, if you look at the Silana area, Atalera, so there is also those two eco lodge that is already there. We are trying to build on that part of the Tailewu area. There's also, I think there's a village just in front of Silana there, which is called, I think, Nambukanra. Okay? They have some very good historical sites sitting over there. So this is something that we are looking at with the community in partnership with the government. If they have historical sites, if they have ecotourism, agriculture space over there that they would like to develop, we work with us and then we provide funding for them. Currently, the approach that we are using, if you look at the 4 that we've assisted so far, just because after COVID, what we're looking at, those they were already in the ecotourism space, but because of the COVID, they were gone down. See, we are going back to a system. We started with those that they're already in the space. We are looking at a couple of others. Another one interviewee. I think it's Lavena Ecology interviewee, and a couple of others that they've already established, but they need assistance. So this is something that we are looking at. Those who are already in the ecotourism space, but because of COVID, they're down. They want to stand up. This is where we come in. It does not also stop to look at other things, other entrepreneurs who want to go into this sector. So the overall, what we are looking at is if we can have this cluster of ecotourism and agritourism throughout Fiji. I'm talking about the highlands. If you open up the highlands over there, we're also looking at the Tailewu side. We're also looking at, there's another huge potential that we can tap into is on the Yatulau areas. That's where we can have the yachting tourism that comes in. There's also a huge potentials in Kandavu. There's a huge potential also in Rotuma. So look at Vanuatu, linking the agri space together with tourism, the culture, and the tradition. And if we were able to do that, riding on the main the tourism space that we are going on at the high end and the middle end tourism, this is an area that we look at to develop the local or the ecotourism space in Fiji. And I think if we're able to do that in the next 10 years.
Sorry, Director.
Okay.
I think we are, yeah.
Right,
so
I think I better stop over there. Yes, Jatisna, I think I'll stop over there. So if there's any questions, and will be on standby to answer those. Pinaka.
Okay. Thank you, Director, for doing the work of MSME Fiji and clarifying the definitions in terms of tenure and grant eligibilities and the potential to revive ecotourism post-COVID-19. I think the ministry has been very much part of these community awareness sessions, and we are very much looking forward to continuing these sessions this year, assisting the MSME tourism operators through these grants. So we will move on to our next speaker. Colleagues joining us next is Ms. Beatrice Nast, President of Society of Fiji Travel Associates. Ms. Nast has been working in tourism for the last 30 years and currently holds the presidency of SOFTA, which covers the tour and transport operators and inbounders in Fiji. She is also SME Director of Misevu, Fiji's first goat milk soap. She is wearing several hats in the industry, and today she will be presenting on how representative organizations can work with government to address challenges in the tourism SME space. Ms. Nastra, can we have you on the floor?
Hello? Yeah, I'm on, right? Everybody hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hello, welcome everyone, and thank you for having me on the panel today. This is very interesting. Firstly, I have to apologize. My camera somehow is not working, so you're just going to hear my voice. And I'm going to start up with, firstly, I would like to outline the economic and social importance of tourism and the role of the government in supporting a sustainable and inclusive tourism sector. The tourism is a highly significant economic sector globally and local, and provides real prospects for the economic growth. So, because the sector generates like foreign exchange, drives regional development, and supports numerous types of business and underpins so many local communities. The governments are playing a vital role to optimize potential benefits and mitigate the associated costs. So the sustainable development of tourism and the digital transformation of the sector constantly needs new and updated policies. So the policy makers need to recognize the need for coordinated responses across the government and work closely with the private sector. So that's how we come together. The practical challenge is to ensure that developments in local tourist destinations align with the policies set in place at a national level. So the Ministry of Tourism plays a crucial role in coordinating and supplementing the efforts of the government, catalyzing private investment and strengthening promotional and marketing efforts in providing trained resources of manpower. So how does that look here in Fiji? And now I'm speaking with two hats on, one as a head of the Tour and Transport Association, and number two, as an SME entrepreneur myself, trying to get a new product on the market. So for those who are not aware of the process, it usually goes that the organization, whichever is in charge for you, has to get back to their members and see what policies they need. So any grievance or ideas they have to improve their sector and their business. Then the organization needs to put forward a submission to the relevant government section. They will take it on board, hopefully, and before any changes or new policy will come into place, the government would hold stakeholder meetings and discussions with different people, genders, religious beliefs, the public, and what we're doing here, public-private dialogues. So as for the SMEs, it's always difficult since they usually do not have the resources or the financial background. But a great example here in Fiji for me is the Duwata Sustainable Tourism Collective led by Marita, which is also here online. And I think most of you know her anyway. So this is a group of entrepreneurs, small business, who now have a voice. And another sample is Kim Beddoes and her social media orientated SME network gets bigger, gets louder by the day, and hence they get heard, right? So some of these people are also sitting in committees formed by respective government sections to give an input to new policies and guidelines, like working on tour operator guideline booklet, which is already out, I believe. And as we just speak on the Fiji National Sustainable Tourism Framework. Also, SPTO is asking the SMEs for the recovery toolkit, which they brought out over the whole South Pacific. So I say finally my 2 cents is to work together as much as we can. Sustainability is the keyword for the coming years. And I always look at a King Arthur roundtable approach, if possible, which will help making faster decisions. So there's still a lot to do, especially for the SMEs, which I'm thinking, and I know, Stuart, you will like that because you're pushing for an insurance cover package for business under 50K. LTA, we're looking at a pay structure for rental car owners, like up to 5 cars, up to 50 cars, over 100 units, because it's just a different perspective. And affordable e-commerce banking opportunities for SMEs. And I think there's one speaker here today, which is great. Simplifying and affordable to open a business bank account in general is difficult for SMEs because they can't come up with the deposit, medical covers, and so on. So I'm just rounding this up and saying, if you have any association which you can join, like FITA or SOFTA, Dive Association, if you have to do with water, there's a new association just came up for the aviation. Please do so, because it's going to give you a voice and it's going to help you also with the grants and explains everything. And thank you for your time, everyone. I make this quick and I put my contact in the chat. If you have any questions, I'm happy to share my thoughts. Nakawakalebu, and back to Chatisha.
Thank you, Ms. Nas. Colleagues, we can see there's a lot we can do in this space through collaboration. And we have seen in the during COVID-19, we have had public-private sector dialogue sessions and all to look into these challenges for SMEs as well. So colleagues, keep on sending your views and questions in the chat box, which we will look into later after the session. Our next speaker is Mr. Mark Dixon, CEO of Fiji Revenue and Customs Services. Mr. Dixon has a wealth of experience in executive leadership positions from across Europe, the US, Australia, and the Pacific. He is a graduate of the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst, has Bachelor and Master of Science degrees from the UK, and is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Mr. Dixon has worked as a CEO, Managing Director within the tertiary education, local and state governments, and the Fijian national government. Mr. Dixon is the Commissioner of Taxes, the Comptroller of the Customs, and the head of the Board Security for Fiji. He is also the chair of Fiji's Tax Agent Board and member of the Reserve Bank of Fiji's Macroeconomic Committee. Mr. Dixon would be presenting what do you think FRCS has done in the past 2 years to progress SME solutions in the tourism sector. Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
Roti, thank you, and Bula Vanaka to everybody that's taken some time to tune in. Look, firstly, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I just want to keep it brief, but obviously the tourism sector is incredibly important to Fiji Revenue and Customs Service. It's important because the Revenue and Customs Service is the major funder of Fiji's national budget. And there's no doubt that tourism plays a significant role in supporting that national budget, and it's obviously my job to try and work with the sector to ensure we collect a fair and equitable amount of tax through that process that keeps your businesses growing and being profitable, but at the same time helps us deliver major government projects and infrastructure changes. The sector is obviously, as you all know, pretty large. So for about sort of 4,000 taxpayers in the sector. I think what's important to note though is when you look, there's only 89 in the sector that we class as a large segment in terms of turnover of significant number of dollars. The vast majority of the sector sits with today's topic of conversation in the SME side. 3,500, for example, sit in the segment that we class as the micro, which is revenues between 50,000 and 300,000. So it's a really important sector in terms of numbers and overall contribution. I think the Revenue Office and some of the tax policies of the current government have been supportive of the sector, but I acknowledge that perhaps we focus a lot of time on the large players in terms of some of the incentives and concessions that we offer in terms of new hotel developments, tax-free holidays and everything else. But we have, I'll just very quickly summarize some of the policies in place that support the whole of the sector. And which ones may be of interest to the people listening. The short life investment package, for example, we've in the last budget reduced the opportunity for people to enter that package. It used to be sitting at $7 million. It's now been dropped right down to $250,000. So an investment in terms of refurbishing your facilities, as long as it's in excess of $250,000, can apply the short life investment package and get some tax incentive benefits from us. We've also significantly offered a lot of customs concessions. We've reduced import duties on over 2,000 items. We've removed stamp duty. You're aware we reduced the departure tax from $200 down to $100. SDT was removed, ECAR was removed. I acknowledge that VAT climbed from 9 to 15%. I know that's a topical subject. And we reduced excise tax on alcohol duty by 50%. So we're doing quite a lot, or I hope, to support the sector's growth. But I just want to touch on where we go from here. I think this is really important. I want to reach out to the SMEs in the tourism sector. I'm very keen to do that with my colleague in the Ministry of Finance, former Ministry of Economy, in terms of the PS, Shri Ganda. What we want to do, there is going to be no mini budget this year. We've heard that from our new government. There's going to be a very planned and methodical approach to the next national budget, and a real opportunity for us to work together on budget submissions and some really good consultations between now and when we actually start that budget process. The more we can do as a group to actually highlight what are your key changes in terms of tax policy changes or customs concessions that will help the sector, I'm keen to hear those, because we can start working on those private budget submissions now. We don't have to wait for a budget to be announced. So the offer, and I'll put my email in the chat box for everybody to access. It's great to have so many participants this morning. The offer is there to contact me individually or as a collective, and we can start the conversation about what changes you want to see in the next national budget around tax policy, tax incentives, or customs concessions. We obviously will review the current ones and we'll see which ones are working well and achieving the government's aims. But at the same time, we may, if they're not being used, we may take them away. So it has to be part of a consultation, and I'm looking forward to that consultation going forward. I think that's probably enough for me. I'm very much looking forward to the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO, for elaborating on the investment incentive packages available for our operators, and for giving them the opportunity to send in their views and proposals on the tax incentives and concessions for the upcoming budget. I think this is a very good opportunity to send in your ideas and views and send in proposals collectively to CEO. Thank you, CEO. We now have with us Mr. Craig Keckland, Mastercard's Director for the Pacific Islands. Vinaka Director for joining us. Mr. Keckland has been involved in many aspects of payments in Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands since 1995 and joined Mastercard in 2011. Most recently, Mastercard has been working in the Pacific Islands market to support local banks, upgrade the payment acceptable networks, delivering a robust world-class ecosystem to support the Pacific Island market into the digital future. Director will be talking about SME e-commerce issues in the tourism sector and the good example of where challenges are being addressed. Director.
Vinaka, and thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to participate in this. From our perspective, from Mastercard's perspective, and the strategy that we're working with across the islands, our core focus is financial inclusion. And when I say that, I don't mean giving people bank accounts. We're looking at particularly SMEs as part of that strategy, because I think Iosaka mentioned that SMEs are the backbone of the economy. Tourism features very heavily, and it touches quite a lot of people in Fiji and the broader Pacific as well. So we've been working very diligently on engaging with a lot of people, talking to a lot of people, making sure we cover off the local nuances, cultural nuances, things like that, so that we make sure that we're meeting everyone's needs in the market. And another sort of interesting point, I know we're talking about e-commerce, and what I want to share with you is not just e-commerce, but card acceptance in general, and a solution that we've worked with in Fiji to deliver. But what we saw during COVID was, because people weren't mobile and businesses weren't mobile, a lot of businesses, not all around the world actually, then looked to being able to accept payments, not just traditionally, which is a shop or a store or a website, but actually both, which is what we refer to as omni-channel. So with that in mind, I thought I would share today just a couple of examples visually that we've delivered. And the great news is it was a Fiji project. It wasn't something that was done in another country. We worked closely with a lot of local Fijians, including mainly Fijian women, to get to where we are. So I don't know if I'm able to open my presentation. Is it? Otherwise, I can.
Craig, you can share your screen.
Share screen. Okay, thank you. Okay. Can everyone see that? Can we see that? See my screen now?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, Craig, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So the SME challenges people tell us, and our own research, because there are some similar markets to the Pacific. The Caribbean is one that stands out where a lot of these challenges exist. So if I split those into face-to-face transactions, so what we see is that when tourists land in Fiji, they may not carry cash, so they don't have cash. Cash management then presents another issue, particularly around security as well, and keeping cash secure. Then there's a need to bank those funds and that sort of stuff. And I think if we look back, there's been no viable SME solution in market to actually take face-to-face transactions from tourists, especially, I guess, the cruise industry, the cruise sector, because, if I think about Suva, when I've been there, people just walk off straight into the markets, and, if they can't transact there, they might move up to the, to the back streets to where the shops are. Maybe you don't want to incur a $15 ATM fee to get cash out. So there's all these things that are playing out, and the cruise industry themselves did a study just a few years ago, which showed that 24% of tourists that arrive by a cruise ship don't actually spend any money in port. So if you think about creating a viable capability for SMEs to accept payments, and not just card payments, but phone payments as well, because Australia and New Zealand are the two largest inbound markets. Everyone's using phones now to transact. Not everyone, but it's really strong in contactless transactions in Australia. Are up over 90% of transactions are tap and go transactions. So that's the face-to-face side. On the e-com side, I guess the largest or the loudest sort of complaint, if you like, or challenge that we heard about was around security lodgements with banks. So if I want to have a website, and this is not limited to Fiji also, by the way, but what people were saying to us is that I don't have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to lodge with a bank a security lodgement over my e-commerce business. And I guess the good news is that the technology has changed, has been upgraded, and from a liability shift for unauthorized transactions has shifted now away from the merchant. So we're educating banks on that, and we've actually got a project that's underway at the moment. And what I'd like to do now there is just share a couple of those examples, which I think those on the call will find a vast improvement on the status quo, and should address the needs of many people in Fiji who are SMEs and trying to really engage with the tourism community when they come in. And I think it'll create some ideas about further applications of these capabilities as well. So the first one is a product called Dual Pay, which to get this up, we partnered, I guess, with DFAT, but more importantly on the ground with FinTech Pacific. And I noticed today that my friend Joanna Kawakoro from FinTech is on the call. And so what we've established is a capability for business to accept card and phone payments on their Android phone. So the way it works is it's tap and go. So it's what we call contactless tap and go. It's highly secure. The solution is one of the most secure offerings globally. The solution accepts MasterCard and Visa for now. The merchant's funds via FinTech Pacific can be received via bank account or M-Pesa. A couple of features is the receipt is optional, so you can issue a receipt, but it can be provided if the customer wants it via SMS or email. It can do refunds, and it also provides a transaction history for the merchant as well. And I guess this is the beauty of a digital economy or a digital payment network. It starts to deliver a lot of sort of ancillary sort of capabilities to SMEs as well. So if you think about going for a loan, talking to the bank, they want to see your business history, your transaction history, all that sort of thing. So this actually captures a digital record of what is going through your merchant facility. So the benefits, I think, probably obvious to everyone, but I will call them out, and that's the ability to transact directly with tourists. And because it's contactless, it means they can use their phone. So, you know, people like me, I live in Australia, so I use my phone for everything. I don't carry a wallet anymore. I just use my phone. So if we're able to sort of bring that hometown sort of payment experience to Fiji, people will feel more comfortable. And we know that when people are not limited by the amount of cash they're carrying, or it's just like home, they're more comfortable and more likely to spend. And unlike having a fixed terminal, which you see in a shop, you don't have all the fees associated with all of that. And as I said earlier, it creates a digital record of your business transactions without you having them recorded or find some other method to do that. And just on the left there, that's an example of how it looks. It's a very simple sort of user interface, as we call it. It works similar, it looks like a calculator, and then the consumer simply taps their card against your phone as they would if they were in a shop, tapping it against a terminal. So just where we're at with that at the moment. So we're still under pilot. DFAT provided funding, MasterCard matched that funding. It's a pilot that will go for some time, but already news has got out of this, and we know that there are others looking to deliver a very similar solution to Fiji and the Pacific Islands. So we think by launching this product and you know, working with FinTech and really engaging locally, we've come up with something that is very simple to use and doesn't require too much effort by an SME merchant, as we call them, to start to engage directly with tourists as they disembark on cruise ships or simply wander around the markets. And I guess because it's on a phone, you have that wherever a mobile phone can be used, this solution can be used. So we can take it to other parts of the country that are currently missing out on this and have less of a cash infrastructure available to tourists than perhaps we have in larger, you know, like Denarau, Suva, and those sort of places. So that's what we've delivered or what we've developed with FinTech Pacific on the card present side. So sorry, I don't know what happened there. So with regard to e-commerce, which we think complements the capability to accept a card present transaction. So USA came to us and said, have you got any ideas? So we've got lots of ideas, but here's one that we think will really resonate. Again in Fiji, but also the broader Pacific. So we're working with USA, YGAP, which some of you will know, and YHER, and also DHL as a courier. So we're working with one of the banks. I can't say just who it is at the moment, but looking to provide a more secure way to accept online payment. So our payment gateway is utilised by ANZ and Westpac in Fiji and other places, but for the purpose of this discussion. So what we've been able to do is upgrade their capability at a internet payment gateway level to increase the security, which, you know, without going into too much detail, makes it much safer for merchants to transact online. And it also reduces the risk for the bank. And that's really important, as I'll touch on in a minute. But just as we did with the tap on phone solution, we're also delivering a training component, and this is where YGAP comes in, and YGAP also did this on the tap on phone solution to deliver a training component for the new solution, but not just on the solution, but how this makes people's lives better, how this will help you with your business, and making sure that we're not just dumping a technology into a country without explaining how it works, without the right level of Talanoa engagement, and then obviously training to cover with that. So there's two sides of risk, I guess, with e-commerce. So one is the transactional side or the fraud side, which we're addressing with this technology upgrade with the banks, but also on the fulfillment side. So I know a lot of people want to buy stuff from Fiji. Global consumers have an expectation around the level of fulfillment. By that I mean how goods are shipped, and also how people advertise the goods that they sell. And what I mean by that is that you've got to really manage your inventory and make sure that when you sell something online, you have that available. If you don't, and it leads to a delay, that could create a dispute. On the shipping side, you know, customers can still raise disputes if the goods are damaged or not as described, and all of these sort of things. But we believe that partnering with DHL in this, who will also deliver part of the training, advising SMEs who are shipping goods overseas, how to do that properly so they don't incur any sort of or expose yourself to disputes or complaints from overseas customers. So with the risk being reduced for the transaction processing and the shipping, we've got one of the banks to agree that they will waive the need for these security lodgements, which, you know, as I said earlier, they appear to be one of the biggest barriers to e-commerce adoption, is to finding some money that you just have lying around that you can, you know, provide to the bank as a form of a security lodgement. So this is a work in progress. We're probably 2 or 3 months off launching this, but I just want to give everyone a sense that we are working diligently behind the scenes to look at eliminating a couple of pretty major barriers to SME engagement in the broader digital economy, and giving them that advantage that, you know, other merchants who have storefronts and everything have today. So that, and just in closing, just one final slide, just to quickly talk about, we are doing a lot about tourism as well, given this is tourism flavor. So we've done a lot of work with Tourism Fiji, and we actually have a campaign in market, Prices Fiji. It's the first tourism deployment of our global marketing brand of Priceless, and you'll see a lot more coming with that. We also now provide Tourism Fiji with spend data, so they're able to see what consumers actually spend the money on when they're in Fiji, so that they can better market to not just Australia and New Zealand, but because we're a global company, you can give them access to, particularly North America's quite popular at the moment, also given that FJ now flies direct to Vancouver. So we're doing a lot of stuff around tourism, but we really understand the importance of it. So it's around working with Fiji, drive people to Fiji, and also when people are in Fiji, you know, we can help increase the yield, which is people spending in market when they're there. And that's two things is first of all delivering that capability for you to engage, and then secondly we do some other marketing things around driving on-ground, what we call on-ground offers and all that sort of thing. So that's my little bit. Hopefully I've kept the time. I think I have. I'll stop sharing my screen, and again, thank you so much for letting us talk today in front of everyone. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Director, for sharing all those examples. And seems like this hub provides a very technological solution for the sector to enable innovation and ensuring that technology is harnessed for more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable recovery. And I guess post-COVID, the industry is more into cashless transactions. So I think there is what seems like a better solution post-COVID. Thank you, Director. Colleagues, our next speaker is Ms. Maria Volavola, CEO of Seoul. Graduated from the University of Wales, she is an experienced CEO with a demonstrated history of working in financial institution supervisor, financial system policy making, corporate strategy, investment, business development, private sector development, and trade and program management. Ms. Volavola, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jacinta, and Bula Vinaka, everyone, and very good morning to you. Thank you so much for inviting Sole. I know a lot of people can say Seoul, but it's actually Sole because it's derived from a Fijian word, Sole Sole Vaki. It's about coming together. Sole Limited has developed a Sole FinTech platform, which is currently under, well, we've completed our regulatory sandbox testing with the Reserve Bank of Fiji. It's coming back to the topic on tourism, sustainable development, and also about being inclusive. One of the things that I want to say as a first contribution is that when we are talking about inclusiveness, at many times we are talking about operators, we are talking about SMEs, I mean, well and good, but I see that in many cases we forget about people on the ground, people that contribute to the industry. And tourism industry is not an industry on its own. It is also linked to other sectors like the agriculture sector, craft industry, the transport industry, and of course now with the IT industry, which can make a difference in terms of the development. Also, I like to say that in terms of tourism industry, sometimes we cannot forget the picture as we drive down the Coral Coast. You have very big hotels, but then you have villages and settlements that have been there. Over the years, you cannot see, progress in development, perhaps, better housing in that regard. So, perhaps it's time that when we look at tourism sustainable development, and likewise in terms of inclusiveness, we need to think about the people who contribute, those in the community, those in the villages, are the benefits that are flowing from the tourism industry? Is it really going down to the community, and can we see changes that is happening there? One thing I have to say is that digital development is something that can make a difference. It can be a game changer, particularly for those that are in the community and the villages that contribute to the tourism industry. I'm just going to speak very briefly on two aspects. One is from the e-commerce user, and especially for an SME companies, and also from an e-commerce solution developer. As our company, Solid Limited, what are our experiences, and particularly looking at compliance or regulatory requirements that are in place here in Fiji. In terms of e-commerce user, there are a number of digital solutions that have been provided here in Fiji, which is contributing to the ease of payments, particularly through mobile use of mobile phones and all of that. And that's quite good, particularly for our SME companies. For SMEs, one of the things that they will be looking at is the ease of transaction, how fast is the transaction can be accommodated, particularly the speed of the transaction, and in terms of the coverage, which areas or which industry is accepting digital payments. One of the things that we note that even though there are digital solution payment that is happening, some are not performing perhaps up to expectations, where the payments, particularly when those transfers that are lost in transition, in terms of going back and inquiring, in terms of those that are providing those solutions, customer services and answering inquiries, sometimes it can be quite difficult, particularly for SME users if they're following up on certain transactions. The other thing is that in terms of real-time settlements and in terms of reconciliation, one of the things also that we've found in the industry, even though with the use of digital solution in terms of payment, there are issues in terms of settlements and reconciliation for some companies and even big companies. Now they're taking more of their time in attending to settlements and reconciliation. So in terms of the digital solution that are provided, it may not be able to cater for that capacity that is happening in the market in that regard. So while they may pave the way for digital solutions, it can also be a disadvantage for new players like Sole coming in, because those companies, the large corporate companies, they may have questions and have second thoughts in accepting digital solutions that are being provided by local, say, fintechs in this regard. Also, what's happening, it's also important that when you're looking at digital development, also what is happening to the key players in the industries, like banks, even we are seeing that even within banks, transactions that can be done online, you expect transaction to be happening in their own, within the bank, to be instant. In many cases, it's taking hours in terms of transactions to be going, or transfer of funds to be going to another account. And now even from banks to banks, what usually takes place from bank to another bank usually take hours. Now we find that after upgrading some kind of RTG payments, it's worse now. It's taking a couple of days, 2 days or 3 days, like that. So, when you're talking about digital development, we have to ensure that, it's very beneficial to SMEs in that regard. For Sole FinTech, we are developing, a solution similar to M-Pesa, or people may term it as a wallet, e-wallet, but we go more than that. And I've seen Kirkland Master card product that is being put in place. A lot of it is on transaction, which means, it's going one way, particularly for payment purposes. In the case of Sole, we do much more than that. It's not only about for payment transaction, but it's also about allowing individuals, particularly to have accounts in Sole, where they can do that, use that for their savings and for their and investment. One of the things that I said is that although we may have tourism operation that's happening out there in the community, like eco treats, like Namosi, and those that engage the community, Sole provides a solution to allow payments that can go to individuals that take part in the provision of whatever services that they do to this tourism-based operation. And that's a good thing about solar, is that at the same time, we've been given the approval from the Reserve Bank to digitally onboard. And we have people from the community that digitally onboard from local areas and from outer islands. And in this case, when payments for their services as they participate in the tourism activity around their community, they're able to receive payments through their Solar account, through their mobile transaction. So in that way, we are providing inclusive development, particularly to help people in the community and surrounding settlements that take part in tourism activity. Very briefly, I will move on to, as an e-commerce developer, solution developer. Here in Fiji, you won't be able to operate a fintech unless it is being approved by the Reserve Bank. And Reserve Bank has been very supportive of Solar in terms of, testing its solution in the market. However, I believe that some of the regulatory requirements in terms of the compliance, they need to look at, and also fintech solutions and technology that's happening out there in the market, they progress very quickly. And so in terms of whatever policies and guidelines they have in place, it will be good that they frequently review that to be in line with the development that is happening. So whatever conditions or whatever regulatory requirements that they may impose on fintechs that are providing digital solution in the market, is in line. And there has been some developments in other Pacific Islands where some of their guidelines are very progressive in that regard. Yeah, there are, regulatory compliance that, e-commerce providers have to abide with Reserve Bank regulatory requirements. And I just hope that they are fair in terms of their, the regulatory requirements or conditions that they impose, that the people that come in and play in be given a level playing field in that regard. The other thing about also with Solar, we provide, the transactions history are provided for any type of accounts that they have. Particularly, this will be good for SMEs. And when you're talking about creating financial statements are very key. That can be where you can produce your balance sheet, your income statements, and cash flow. These are important for financial institutions, particularly banks, where the SMEs are wanting finance or applying for finance. These are important consideration. So our platform provides those type of transparent transactions, and also from all other accounts that they may have. We don't have only one account. We provide 20 accounts where SMEs can do their budgeting. They can manage the financial operation in a smarter way, because they're able to budget and allocate finances, for different purposes in whatever their operations may be. And they also can connect with their workers, and likewise in terms of our customers. And also the other thing that one thing of what we do with Solar is, when we onboard merchants, we're not only looking at allowing transaction to go through, but we look at the overall architecture of accounting services that they provide, where we can provide value added in terms of the reports that they have to provide internally for their purposes. And then, of course, where the Solar transactions and the transaction history will then be integrated and really help the company in that regard. So I guess my time is over, and people can contact Solar if they would like to know more information.
Thank you, CEO, for sharing the potential of e-commerce for SMEs in the global economy, and Vinaka Vakalavu to Soleh for providing the solutions for our tourism operators. I guess the accessibility of the internet resulting from the combination of regulatory reform and technological invention has enabled the expansion of e-commerce and for small and medium-sized enterprises to be progressively involved in it. So thank you so much, CEO, for sharing your thoughts on this. Colleagues, our final panelist for the day is Ms. Dipti Sharma, founder and director of Adventurous Fiji and MyDesk Fiji. Ms. Sharma is a digital marketing entrepreneur, digital media marketing strategist with a background in information technology, business management, and sales and marketing. She is originally from Singapore and a long-time Nandi resident, is a very passionate advocate for female entrepreneurship and community development with 17 years of professional management experience. Ms. Sharma will be sharing her experience as a new SME business in a space that supports other SMEs, meeting challenges and what further action and support is needed. Ms. Sharma, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'll try to keep my presentation as short as possible, although I have a lot of experiences to share while we were setting up our MyDesk co-work space. So my topic today is to talk about experience as a new SME, an SME business, which also support SMEs in Fiji, and some of the challenges which we have actually gone through, and support and actions which is required in future. So first of all, I will tell you a brief about what MyDesk is. So we started MyDesk in 2021. In the last finishing time of COVID, and this idea came from my personal experiences as a first-time entrepreneur when I started up my marketing agency, which is Adventurous Fiji, whereby I had to use cafe shops, and sometimes sitting in my car and working. So and then a time came, then I said, okay, COVID was quite at its peak, and then we all were working from home and stuff like that. And then I decided, okay, might as well, with the little amount of money we have, let's do this side hustle. And we came up with the idea of setting up a co-op space whereby we have built a sort of a support system whereby we are supporting SMEs in Fiji, not just SMEs, but also visitors coming to Fiji. Some of the services which we provide in MyDesk is we provide dedicated spaces for entrepreneurs or freelancers or anybody to come and take up the space for a day and sit and do their work. And then we also provide if you see my virtual background, that's our hot desking desks, which has 12 seats. So we provide people to come over and use the space while they are on their way commuting and coming to Fiji, or just a small business if you have and you need a space to sit, not like me sitting in a car or in a coffee shop and doing work. You can always visit MyDesk, and the rates which we provide is like it's for small businesses is pretty low. And we also have invested into a video conferencing unit. So and there are a lot of time then as a small business, sometimes we are trying to target a big deal, and then we need a proper space to sit and a proper facilities like a video conferencing unit. So we invested a bit on a video conferencing unit, and we have our meeting room which caters for almost 10 to 12 people. And then you can always use our video conferencing facilities. Apart from that, the amount of money you actually pay, it's for using our space, it compromises of a free flow of tea, coffee, water, free coffee, tea, and water. We also provide you to that extent of using the stationery as well. Stationery, for example, if you forget your pen, you can always come and use stationery at my desk as well. So in terms of the design and design of the space, it's designed and it's very comfortable. We have high tables as well, whereby, you know, if you are sitting there for long and you need high tables, so we have also, so we came up with a very amazing sort of design whereby you can work and you know, use high tables and stuff like that. So that's some of our services we have. Another thing is that during when we launched, we because we come from a marketing background, so we used our marketing experiences and expertise. We promoted My Desk on a we promoted My Desk a lot, and we had a lot of support from our SME businesses in Nandi in West, and yeah, we had a lot of support from our SME businesses in West, and also we had a lot of support from tourism industry. Fiji Tourism was there to help us out. We also had tourism. Fiji Airways also helped us in promoting My Desk on their in-flight magazines, whereby we managed to attract a lot of tourists and bloggers coming to Fiji, and they have used our My Desk space. In terms of our challenges, one thing which I faced, one of the challenges which I have faced in our My Desk is that the setup was actually designed for initially for our small medium businesses, small businesses, and we have actually re-looked into our packages, and we have got in collaborating with MDF as well in terms of getting the incentives for our micro and small businesses. So work is in progress, and hopefully there will be some good news for our SMEs in Fiji to utilize My Desk. And we also look forward from the support from SME Fiji as well to support our micro and small businesses, for them to probably have a proper facility to work from. Apart from that, in terms of our actions, future actions, is that we plan for our expansions to go more into private spaces, and probably more meeting room and a small nursery for working mothers as well. So sometimes probably later the year, we do actually plan to execute this. Furthermore, we also plan to engage a lot with other stakeholders and other agencies like Business Link Pacific and MDF and NGOs and other micro and small businesses groups as well. Apart from that, we also plan to implement business development programs with our local facilitators, and we have also been collaborating with other co-work space in Fiji, which is Greenhouse Studio, whereby we provide 10% discount to 10% discount to the other members coming from Greenhouse Studios. So that's all I have to talk about in terms of our journey and experiences with My Desk.
Thank you, Ms. Sharma, for sharing your experience and challenges faced as a SME operator. And not only that, also for empowering our young women generation. Colleagues, we have come to an end for part one of our session. And now I would like to invite my co-facilitators, IFC, who will take us through our Q&A session.
Thank you, Jyoti, and thank you, everyone. Great presentations to our panelists. We have about 40 minutes for our Q&A session, and our goal, basically my goal right now, is really to give the best space for you, our audiences, to have your views, also to learn as well as engage with the fantastic panelists of experts that we have today. So I'll ask those on the audiences, if you haven't already put your comments on, there's also an option that we can unmute you and you can ask the question and post this directly to the panelists. As well as I would just ask if you're going to speak directly to the panelists, that you say your name, organization that you're from, and the question that you have, and which panelist that you're posing the question to. So firstly, let's just go to, I think there were some great discussions on the chat group. We had probably a question from Edward Bernard, and talking about the definition on MSMEs that was given to us by Mr. Korendimuri. And, talking about the definitions of MSMEs based on turnover. And I know that the steward has also raised the question on how this does not match with the Fiji Revenue Customs Services tax brackets. And also, Mr. Yosefo had also mentioned that they've already been in talks on this, and a draft is currently being worked at. I'd like to just invite Yosefo just to share a little bit more about the draft that's been worked on, the partners that have been involved, and probably just the timeline in terms of when do we expect to see an outcome on this.
Right, Alisi. Alisi. Okay, right. Yes, that's the reason why when I started my presentations, I want to elaborate on that, the definitions, because this is something that we've looked at, that before we go into any of the government assistance and government grants, we found out that there's a different government machineries, or put it that way, they have their own, and commercial, the private sector, they have their own definitions of MSMEs. So the first thing that we are trying to do now is to have a clear definition, a national definitions for MSMEs. As I've mentioned, RBF, we are working closely with them to play a lead role into this. As we're still in the draft stages, because we are talking to other government sectors, and there will be consultations, and hopefully, and also the change in government is also an issue. But hopefully, we're looking at by the end of this year, something could materialize with regards to that. But yes, we have realized that there's a need to have a national definitions for this.
I think that answers the question from Edward and Stewart. Edward, we're giving you the mic if you want to ask your question directly, or pose any follow-up questions as well. Edward, you'll just have to unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, none at the moment. I'll give others the opportunity. Thank you.
Majid, would you like to pose your question directly to the panelists?
Hello all, my name is Majid, and I'm running a food delivery business. So we're providing on-demand food delivery service, like person can order medicines, food, vegetables, and everything what the essential items. While working in Suwan, Nendi, Singatok, and Lotsoka, what we face like in tourists are the major our customers in Nandi and especially in Singotoka, and sometimes they book those services in advance. So what we facing difficulties are to the in tourism, especially with the resorts, and then sometimes restaurants sorry, the customer place orders and the resorts don't allow us to go and deliver, and then it's hard for us to to communicate, and then the tourists they have to come out of the resorts and collect the money. Sometimes they don't have a currency for exchange. So those are the difficulties we are facing, and then we have some plans like when we go to the overseas, normally MNOs, mobile network providers, they got text messages from we as a tourist we go to New Zealand, Australia, UK, USA, other countries to start getting SMS like which services are they offering in the country. So at the time the tourists are aware like which food delivery businesses and other SMEs offer while they can entertain, they can use the services. So we contacted that MNO, so we didn't get any positive feedback from them. So if in case of the tourism department can help us on this to connect with those, to have we have plans for that. The tourists are coming in, so start getting messages from the MNOs like the food delivery businesses available, or the those are the high services, or sort of those service providers like just as Deepti's My Desk is availability. So they know like there's such facilities that they can use that. So this is my concern is if tourism will like to help us on this too. It's a great initiative, and we're finding it from the feedback from the tourists is that they spend a lot of time to without having a good local foods, or they don't know like if any such services are offering in Fiji. So from my side, as we got a feedback from the tourists where they are facing difficulty to doing a connectivity with the local services, it would be great if we have some plans, if we can connect somehow with the tourists, can help us. That's my main concern. If I can explain what basically we are facing difficulties and my concern is. Thank you very much.
Good luck, Majid. Jodishna, would you like to just respond to that?
Thank you, Alice. We have noted down the issue, and we have also noted down Mr. Manjit's contact. After this call, we will reach out to him, and we can discuss on how well we can resolve his issues. Maybe we can have a meeting, and then we can see how we can find a solution for his issues.
Thank you, Jyoti. Okay, I think there was...
Alice,
yes,
can I just
ahead.
add on to that, Alice? Yeah, Alice, can I just add on to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, okay. He raised a very important point as well over there, especially in the MSME sectors. I think we've been working very well with our tourism team with regards to this. This is something that we've identified and we look at going forward. I forgot what his name mentioned over there. In trying to link all the MSME spaces, those who are doing agriculture, those who are doing food, or connecting them to the hotel industries in that way. I know the hotel industries, they have their own reservations because of the processes and procedures that they have to follow from the end. And this is something that we've been working with in the ministry, especially the MSMEs and the cooperative department together in collaborations with the tourism department in trying to align our MSMEs on how they can penetrate into this niche market, so that the hotels can link directly to the small farmers and the small restaurants and all those kind of things. We are looking at the farming spaces as well. As you be aware, I think in terms of export bill for vegetables for hotel industries, I think it's almost sitting at about 70 million. So that's huge. That's something that we are trying to look at to address. That if looking at the restaurant department, and also if we're looking at the vegetable department, those in the Singotoka Valley, if they can just supply directly to the hotels for tomato, for carrots, for cabbages, rather than getting it overseas. It's something. It's a work in progress, but he has raised a valid point over there, and we are currently working with our MSME department together with the cooperatives department and also with Ministry of Tourism, working in collaborations in trying to address this issue. And I think it all comes down to the sustainability aspects of what Jyotisna is trying to explain over there. Vinaka.
Okay, Chef, for some good points. Thank you for raising that. Beatrice, you got your hand up. Would you like to unmute?
Yes, thank you. I would like to make a comment and maybe a suggestion to Majid, the food delivery. I mean, obviously you have issues to come in the hotels and deliver your food because they're selling the food and they also need their revenue and sales. So this is kind of like you bringing the sand into the desert. So if I were you, I would probably more concentrating on the smaller accommodation operators, work more with them. For example, the Airbnbs, which don't have food outlets or people cook themselves, or they maybe want to order from different restaurants, which they then can do over your company. And also on bed and breakfast, and like look for other possibilities and options. There's a lot out there. So thank you.
Naka, Beatrice. Naka. Just, would like to encourage our SMEs that are in the audiences. We have Mr. Mark Dixon from Fiji Revenue Customs Services that is on the panelists. We encourage you just to share, of your challenges, or if there are, experiences that you've had, especially we're talking about impacts of COVID, and what you've done to be able to survive, and probably what are the support or actions that still is needed to ensure that. So please feel free to put your hands up and raise your questions to our fantastic group of panelists. Look like, okay. Thank you, Rusiate. I see your hands up. You can just unmute yourself.
Bula, yes. Okay, it's just a question. I know that we have been talking about agricultural sector and food businesses in relation to tourism. I'm a local travel agency and have been operating for like almost 10 years. Most of the time I'm operating sub-renting from like a small space in Nandi town. But recently I've been given a green light that I've started at Port Marine and Denaro, and I'm just getting most of our businesses like on Facebook and all that. So is there any like alternative plan for Tourism Fiji that can be able to also help us, as we are a local agency and 100% locally owned? Just as I said, I'm in the marketplace now, and I still need help just in order to put up in things that I'm trying to do out there in Port Marina.
What kind of help are you looking at, Rusiate?
Probably financial help, probably just to help us in doing our booth signages and all the small things like laptops or the materials that I can be able to use to upgrade my business.
Okay.
I have already wrote an email to Tourism Fiji like 2 weeks ago, and I still have, at least if they could just, let me know, okay, what steps I could be able to do. As I've just seen in the news that like FDB and working through the government, and there are some things there that we can be able to go, like what we have been talking about, like small businesses that needs help. What are other advices that I can be able to do in order to be able to get the upper market as other agencies and other tour operators? doing right now.
Okay, Naka Rusiate. I'll let you speak first, and then probably after that, Jyoti. Naka.
Jyoti, I'll answer this.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Right. Vinaka Rusiate. My number is 990-8968. 990-8968. My email address too is I've posted it over there on the chat box. Rusiate, if you can just contact me, we'll discuss on the financial side of your business. And I think I'll just post it also to all our MSMEs out there. If you are joining in, with regards to the ecotourism space that I've explained about, we have the grant that is sitting over here, the HRDP that I was trying to explain to you guys. The Integrated Human Resources Development Program that we assist. Our focus now is looking at the ecotourism spaces. I've given an example like Namosi Eco Retreat, Tavoro. So if you are in that looking at develop the ecotourism spaces out there, there's a grant available right now. It's a 1/3, 2/3. There's 100,000 that you can apply, the maximum. But you have to provide the 1/3. If you applying looking at 100,000 project, then you will look at providing about roughly 1/3 of that is roughly about 30,000. Okay, so the government will give you a grant of 70,000. So this is all those of you resource owners out there or small businesses that wants to go into the ecotourism space. You can call me directly. The grant is on now. Our panel will be sitting to endorse this grant. The next sitting is roughly about in the next month. So it's all online. So that's why I've given out my number so that I can Viber you the link. All you got to do is fill the application form online. Those of you who want to develop your ecotourism spaces in the villages or in the rural or peri-urban areas, what we normally emphasize is if you get your tourism list in advance. If you have not, please start working on that. And Rusiate, we can discuss, if you can call me, we can discuss further on how you can access this grant. There's some other grants over here that based on your own MSME needs, we can direct you to. So those of you out there with regards to the ecotourism space or agri-tourism, please, there's a grant available right now. And if you can call me so that we can contact you on Viber, I can send you the link for the application. It's all online. And the grant, we won't be able to give the cash. It is a capital injections, meaning if you to build your mbure or dom for backpackers, this is where we can come in. But you won't be able to, we won't be able to give you the cash directly, but it will be on a capital injections. So on a one-to-one basis, if you can contact me, then we can advise you on where to go with regards to the government grants.
And just to clarify yourself, well, this is also, we're also including other SMEs from other sectors. Obviously, we're acknowledging that there's service providers who are servicing other SMEs in the tourism space, but also the tourism sector in general. So I guess it's open to those also.
Yes, yes. I thought the forum is on tourism, so I was inclined to that, but it's all open. What?
Yes,
in general, or MSMEs in general.
Yeah, I think just to acknowledge, we have quite a few MSMEs who are probably not in the tourism space, but are service providers to other SMEs, tourism SMEs, and the tourism sector, similar to Dipti from my desk, PG. Vinaka Yosefo, I see there's a hand up from Maria Rova.
Sorry, Alice,
Sorry,
if I can just Just for clarity purpose, I just wanted to explain that the All for Tourism Fiji, I guess, just to clarify that they are our marketing arm and they can provide marketing support. However, they cannot provide financial support. So to the SMEs out there, if you need assistance in terms of marketing, please, you can do reach out to Tourism Fiji for this.
Nakajoti. Maria? You can go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect. Go ahead.
So my name is Maria Rova. I'm a visual artist, and I'm speaking to you from our art studio on the edge of the runway here in Nandi. So I wanted to especially flag the representative from FERX, Mr. Dixon, regarding the creative industries and the very vital and hopefully growing role that we should be able to play in the tourism industry recovery and in sustainable and eco-friendly tourism initiatives moving forward. One of the interesting developments from the the national budget that came out last year was a 300% tax rebate that has been made available to resorts and hotels that are employing local artists. And we would just like to request that the wording on that provision is clarified so that this will include, I think most people take that to mean performing artists, so dancers and musicians, but we're calling on that provision to extend right across the whole creative industries. And for our studio, we are a company that produces paintings, and it is very, sorry, there's a plane just taking off overhead here. It is not easy to compete with all the very cheap imports in terms of art and craft coming into Fiji and filling up our tourism gift shops and being used in the interior design and interior decor of most hotels and resorts. Cutting into that market is challenging, but it's definitely something worthwhile doing, and there could be many more local players involved in that way. It's a total win-win situation to have more Fijian-made, Fijian-inspired art and craft throughout all of our tourism industry plants. And just those incentives that don't actually cost the government any additional payouts, but something like those rebates. But you were saying how if the rebates or the provisions are not used, they probably just get dropped along the wayside as the years go by. And there definitely is scope for more awareness raising, both within the creative industry community as well as within the tourism sector regarding a provision like that. And how does it actually, how do we interpret the wording on that? How does it apply in actual practice so that more of the industry players can take advantage of and be incentivized by a provision like that? So just flagging that to you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this forum.
Yeah, look, Maria, it's Mark from FERCA, FRCS. Thank you for that feedback. I think the intent was to be quite broad. The 300% tax deduction is, it's a great incentive, actually. I take your point on marketing it to the hotels so that they actually take advantage, because it is a really good offer. My understanding was it was meant to be quite broad, certainly focused on dancers and musicians, but it did include sort of what I'd call sort of craft people and creative industries. But my advice is I'll get some clarification around what's included. My advice is if people think they're even stand a likely chance of being included, ask us, because we want the incentive to work. And if we can say yes, within the confines of the law, we'll say yes. If we need to go back through the next budget process and and clarify the definitions and expand them, we can do that, but we might not be able to do that until the next budget. So it's actually explained in detail in law. But in the interim, if you think you're in a creative industry that should or could claim that deduction, please come and ask us. And if we can fit it within the law and say yes, we will do so.
Naka.
Naka Maria. We have probably just another 5 minutes remaining. Is there any other burning questions from our audiences? You know, whilst we still have the panelists here with us, please feel just to raise your hand and unmute yourself. 5 minutes left. I think there was a question from Joshua Matewai posed to Mariah from Sole. Are you looking to expand into the Pacific Islands?
Definitely. We've already held strategic talks in one of the big Pacific Island countries. Obviously, for Sole, our goal is to go right across the Pacific.
Naka Mariah. I think, Josh, just so you were happy with that response. I'll probably just, since we don't have any other further questions, unless I've missed anyone out.
Kim was.
Oh.
Well, she was just saying if for the information that she could share with the SME members, maybe you'd like to invite Kim to just talk about the network she manages.
Yes. I'd like to invite Kim Beddoes, if you'd like to just share with the rest of the MSMEs in the audience. I think you've got an SME network, and probably just share a little bit more about that.
Bula, everyone. Sorry, didn't expect to talk, was just planning to listen. My name is Kim Beddoes. I created a online collection of SMEs that became very active during the pandemic as we were all trapped at home. It's called the Fiji SME Business Owners Network. We have approximately 570 members across all industries in Fiji and across the country. During the pandemic, we focused on key issues faced by members, and we tried to find solutions and speak to the relevant decision makers to get solutions. Long story short, the purpose this year moving forward, I intend to formalize the group and make it a, what's for lack of a better word, make it a organization by SMEs for SMEs, so that we can start working with the new government and the various organizations to come up with solutions for key problems that are faced across the board for SMEs. And Mr. Dixon, if you don't mind, not wanting to put you on the spot too much and start off with a negative introduction, but one big carry that has come up across the board in many meetings that I've been a part of, excuse me, my son just walking in, is the attitude of your team members towards SMEs in terms of general customer service. I won't bore you with my own personal experiences, other than to say that I know it has been nothing but stressful. In my experience, or I am going to say in my experience, when I have dealt with the tax department, with FERCA, whoever's been my assigned manager, I have always been treated as if I was a criminal, spoken to derogatorily, spoken to as if I was an idiot, put under a huge amount of stress, charged taxes that we weren't supposed to be charged, and then battled for years by email and in meetings. Mine's just one experience, but I know it is an experience that is felt across the board with many SMEs. Again, not to put you, not to the first introduction to be a negative one, but in a nutshell, if customer service training amongst your team could be done with just one key reminder, we the SMEs employ 60% of the workforce of this country. We are the engine of this nation. We are trying our best in difficult circumstances to run our small businesses so that we can earn an income, we can employ the people of this nation, and we can earn taxes to pay the government, to pay the wages, particularly of the staff of FERCA as well. So if there could be some significant work towards a change in attitude to treat us as we're in this together, moving our nation forward, rather than being spoken to and treated as if we spend all our days and nights trying to find ways to not pay our taxes. Again, Mark, my apologies. Didn't want the first introduction to be like that, but that is the reality. And if we, the Fiji SME Business Owners Network, could be given an opportunity, because our members are vast, so we cover all industries, not just tourism. I've already taken down and screenshot your email address, and in due course, if you would like, I would be happy to put a document together across all industries of key taxes that we would need some clarification or questions or assistance in. Again, sorry, Mark, but yeah, moving forward on a positive. If that could be done, that would be a world of difference and improvement for all SME business owners, because we are working in an environment that, you know, before they stopped doing ease of business, you know, we were on par with war-torn countries. Having said that, that's not everyone, not every single staff member's like, that's just been my own personal experiences, but I've also had good experiences, but it keeps coming up across the board in multiple meetings I've been a part of. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, look, look, Kim, that's exactly why we're here. So, you know, the feedback is most welcome. I've been on a journey with FRCS for 12 months now, and the key driver is to improve customer service. We do recognise what a great contribution you make to our country in terms of tax revenues, and we're trying to give everybody a fantastic concierge service, because as you all know, if you're successful, we're successful. So we're actually in this together. You know, I accept what you've told me. I'm disappointed. Please do drop me an email and I will come and see you. And I'd quite like to just, I don't know whether it's a particular location around Fiji where this is happening. I do know that we are looking at a customer advocacy arrangement and a new customer charter and everything else. And a much more sort of focus on how responsive we are in terms of timeliness of replies. So I'd love to talk to you outside of the forum. I'll come and see you, and we'll sit down and we'll map out, and then you know, I'll bring that back into the organisation and drive those changes you're seeking.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Mark. Greatly appreciate to save your time, because I imagine you have a lot to do in your role. Like I mentioned, I'm happy to create within my group of 570 members. We'll start putting together a document, so we're not just talking and having a big talk fest. We'll put together a document, the key tax areas and the key questions and issues we have, so that when I do get the opportunity to meet you, I will first send that first, so we have something to discuss, so we can find the solutions to those problems. Thank you so much, Mark. Greatly appreciated.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kim. You drop me an email and I'll come and see you very soon.
Will do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you, Mark. Hey guys, we've run out of time, and I just want to say thank you to, you know, just thank you to the fantastic panelists and to all of you for your wonderful questions. I'll give the floor back to Jyotishna to wrap it up, but we'll be sending through the emails of the panelists later. Thank you very much, Vinaka.
Thank you, Alici, and Vinaka Vakalevu to everyone. I guess we have come to an end for today's session, and I would just like to thank everyone for participating, especially to our very insightful panelists for sharing their experience, ideas, and views on the topic. I guess there's a lot we can take from today's session, colleagues, especially in recognizing the partnership between the private and public sector, which is our key focus. So please do share your feedback even after the session. You can reach out to the panelists and discuss further on this. So our next session, colleagues, will be on Wednesday next week, 25th January. And the session will talk about development goals and public infrastructure. So on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and the Fiji government, please allow me to thank everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to further support as we put together our renewed strategy. Thank you.
Inaka.